Hello, Durud and Shalom. Hi, everyone. Okay, so we're about to jump into our group call in this discussion group. I think people are already here speaking. Let's see who's here already. Okay, yep, I see. I see 14 people are already here. This is going to be a less busy group call because it's just the VIP members. So let's just drop. My audio is okay. Everything good? Let me just jump right into it and see what the people. Let's just surprise everyone. There we go.
Out last night that were here during that time period. That I'm a
Armin!
Hey, Armin.
Don't piss off.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, you don't
Bye.
piss
Hey,
off.
What's up, man?
Hey,
Don't
man. How are
piss
you?
off women who are protecting their loved ones.
Yes.
Right.
Women could.
That's the famous joke. How do you know a Latina loves you? She kills you.
Okay.
Armin's like, what?
Because you walk into.
What did I walk into? What are you guys talking about?
When you're away, there's something happens when you go away and stop recording, and weirdos start appearing in the group. And
Not
we're like the lightning rod weirdos the minute the recording goes off.
Yeah.
I have no,
Someone
it was
no idea. I have no idea what's happening and what you guys are talking about. But
Yeah.
Yeah, Armin, it was
Drop and
terrible.
put you in.
it's okay.
we can tell you if you like or
No,
or not, whatever.
Okay.
Should
That's
spare
fine.
the YouTube viewers the
It's
story. I don't think they deserve it.
Let's
Let's
who's modding?
just literally politics.
Hi, everybody, listen. Who's modding? I think Monkey is modding. Okay, thank you. All right, so let's just.
Oh, you can mod if you want, Sabir.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
that works.
What's
Okay.
up?
Oh, hey, Sapir. Hi.
Hi.
Okay. All right. Let's get started then.
Okay. I just got in, so if anyone wrote one, I still.
What do you
don't know.
need?
Wait. Okay. Let me mute. Halda, your mic is open. So I saw one from Noah saying
Yeah, I
Iran
see
strike
that.
Kuwait. Okay. Yes, I see that. I think that was the only one. All right, Noah, go ahead.
Yeah, basically, it's basically your topic from yesterday, but I wanted to talk about it as well. So if you want to go ahead and talk about it first, go right ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. I'll just respond. You tell me what you think and ask any questions that you have, and I'll just respond to you. And other people could put twos in the chat as well. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So as many of you have seen the news, the U.S. and the Islamic Republic have been clashing, accusing each other of violating the ceasefire. And I think it was yesterday, they struck Bahrain, and today the Islamic regime struck Bahrain again and Kuwait. The Islamic regime also tried to strike a Singapore flagged cargo vessel. I don't know if it was successful or not, but I guess my main question, has there been any other news?
Yeah, the Singaporean one was the first one. That was successful. I think there was another one.
Oh.
Yeah, that was the Ever Lovely one. That was a successful one that hit. The later one wasn't successful. What was that country one? The second one? Yeah, I forgot what the second country was. Okay, says, let me see. All right, it doesn't matter. There was another ship that they attacked. It's just going on and on. So this is the circular nature of what we're dealing with. But I think that something else is happening that we're not paying attention to, and it makes me a lot more optimistic. And I want to see what you guys think about it, right? So here's what's happening on the surface. On the surface, there's a ceasefire that both sides are very desperately are trying not to escalate, right? So you have a repetition of this. The Islamic Republic is claiming one of the conditions of the ceasefire between the Islamic Republic and United States is that the ships go through the lane of through a lane in the Strait of Hormuz that is the northern part of the Strait of Hormuz, preferably between Larak and Qeshm Islands, right? The United States is like, that's not part of the ceasefire agreement. Ships, in fact, those parts are dangerous anyways. People should go through the southern part of the Strait of Hormuz, which is closer to the Oman border. So the Islamic Republic, once ships go through the area that is part of the closer to Iran, so it's trying to create a framework that at some point maybe it could collect tolls, or they're going to call it something else. But Oman, United States is working to make ships go through the Strait of Hormuz, through closer to Oman, southern part. And apparently the Islamic Republic is also upset with Oman because they're not really working with the Islamic Republic on this, right? And so here's what happens. Ships go through, they go through the lanes that United States is telling the ships to go through, and the IRGC gets upset, attacks them, and also it says attacks. It's interesting because on state TV, by the way, guys, this in the Islamic in Iran on state TV, this was kind of funny. They said we attacked them because they were going through routes that were not safe. So we were trying to provide safety for them, and they weren't letting us give them safety, so we attacked them. So basically, this was actually on state TV, saying like we attacked them. Basically, it translates to we attacked them for their safety. So we're it threw drones, lethal drones at ships because they weren't being safe. They were going through areas that you consider to be unsafe. So that was their narrative on state TV. So they shoot at these ships, and the and then the United States will be okay. We have to respond to that. So they bomb different targets in Sirik Island and Qeshm Island, and then the Islamic Republic and the United States will say that this what you did was a violation of ceasefire. So we're going to respond. And then the Islamic Republic was like, no, what you did right now, which you bombed my islands, you violated the ceasefire. So now I'm going to bomb U.S. bases in Bahrain and Kuwait. And then that happens, and the United States will be like, okay, not much happened. Nobody died. We're going to call it, we're going to say it ended here. And then another ship will go through, IRGC attack, U.S. responds, Islamic Republic attacks, and then U.S. was like, nothing happened. Let's stop here, right? And it's interesting because now we have, we already had direct communication between Ghalibaf and President Trump. We also had direct communication between Arakchi and Witkoff. Now we also have a direct line of communication between IRGC and CENTCOM based in Doha to avoid things from escalating, right? Direct, they set this up, something similar to what they had with the Soviet Union with the red phone, right? So this shows a huge commitment from both sides not to escalate, right? They will keep using very aggressive language against each other, but both sides are very motivated right now not to escalate. So some people who want escalation might look at this and be disappointed. But one thing is happening while we have this ceasefire is the United States is busy somewhere else defanging the Islamic Republic, which is actually beautiful now that you see what's happening, right? So in the agreement that Lebanon and Israel just signed, that agreement was also signed by the United States. And if you look at Section 11 of that agreement, it clearly says that the United States is going to commit to stop the Islamic Republic from funding Hezbollah. It doesn't use the word Iran, Islamic Republic, or Hezbollah, but if you read it, you can see that it's not just Lebanon committing to this, the United States is committing to this as well. I don't know how seriously that's going to be taken, but that is a U.S. being involved actively, because we all know the Lebanese army cannot handle Hezbollah. But what does this commitment mean? Okay, what does this commitment mean? So, and then also we just had last night what we saw in Iraq was that the new prime minister of Iraq, Zaidi, the Zaidi guy. So United States did something really good, which is President Trump put a lot of pressure for Nur al-Maliki not to be the next prime minister of Iraq. And if he didn't get involved, he would have been. And if that had happened, Iraq would have been gone. Like the Islamic Republic would have so much upper hand in Iraq right now. So President Trump did the right thing by not letting that happen in Iraq. And this new prime minister, this Zaidi guy, he's actually pretty awesome, because just last night we saw a whole bunch of, armored vehicles and military activity by this new prime minister in the green zone in Baghdad, going in and arresting a whole bunch of politicians who are loyal to the Islamic Republic, who are parts of the proxies of the Islamic Republic. So for months, we've been hearing the United States bombing Hashd-e-Shabi bases in Iraq. So that's the militias that are loyal to the Islamic Republic. But now we're also seeing that they're arresting the politicians who are proxies of the Islamic Republic in Iraq. And I think a lot of people are underestimating how important both of these are. A lot of people think that the Islamic Republic's decision-making is just based on Durka jihadi Islamic ideology, and these people do not make rational decisions. But it's actually not the case. I mean, they have a lot of followers that are retarded, but those are the tools for their actual agenda. Like if you follow what the Islamic Republic does, the motivation is power and wealth. And based on the cards that they have been dealt with, if you actually look at what they do, they are a lot more rational than what people give them credit. Rational doesn't mean good. They're still evil, but they are rational when it comes to, if you look at what what helps their survival and power and wealth, right? So the support for Shia proxy terrorist groups in Iraq and Hezbollah is not just because we have the duty to support our Shia brethren or blah, 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 like all of that. These are layers of defense for the Islamic Republic. Like you could see already how devastating it has been for the Islamic Republic that the Houthis didn't really show up in closing the Bab al-Mandab at the Red Sea, and how useful that would have been at the negotiating table and as a deterrence if the Houthis were active right now. Like imagine what would it do to pressure on the White House if we had the Strait of Hormuz plus the Bab al-Mandab closed right now, right? It would have been, that's a lot of leverage that the Islamic Republic could have had that it doesn't have, right? So you can see these proxies, these terrorist groups, they are forces, especially on Israel. It's very important for the Islamic Republic to have a force right next to Israel that it could put pressure on, so that it could remove that pressure in return of certain favors here and there, right? And Hezbollah, losing Hezbollah and losing its proxies in Iraq would leave the Islamic Republic completely naked. So it makes a lot of sense to me that the Americans right now are using this ceasefire to defang the Islamic Republic in other areas. If they are successful at defanging the Islamic Republic in other areas, once they come back at some point, I don't know when, maybe a long time from now, but if the Islamic Republic is defanged, if Hezbollah is not as strong, if Iraq, think about it, the Islamic Republic has already lost Syria with the fall of Assad. That has been devastating to the Islamic Republic. Imagine if you wanted to do all of this, okay, if Hezbollah was as powerful as it was before October 7th, if the Houthis were as powerful as the time that before the American and Israeli bombardments, if Assad was still in power and the Islamic Republic had complete access to Lebanon, land route through Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon, would have been able to equip Hezbollah so much more than Syria falling has made the Islamic Republic lose access to Lebanon from land routes. That is, to be fair, they still have managed. The Jolani or the Al-Ashar guy is not really good at stopping everything going through Syria, so they still have access to Lebanon, but obviously not as much as when they had their buddy ruling over Syria. By the way, side note, this shows how bad Syria's army is. People are like, oh, maybe they could attack Hezbollah instead. They can't even stop. I mean, they are already, Giuliani is already aggressively against the Islamic Republic, but the Islamic Republic still is able to send supplies to Hezbollah through Syria. So they can't even stop that. They can't even manage their own country. And now they want to go attack Hezbollah in Lebanon. That doesn't make any sense, right? But anyways, let's get back on track. All of we are moving in the right direction, slower than what we want, much slower than what we want, obviously. But the Islamic Republic is losing most of its leverage right now, most of its deterrent capability. And if it ends up without any of them at some point, then dealing with the Islamic Republic in future military operation is going to be a lot easier. The only last remaining 3 deterrence capabilities that the Islamic Republic has, the main ones, is Hezbollah, the Strait of Hormuz, and the enriched uranium. If you get the enriched uranium out through a deal, if you manage to work with the IDF, if the IDF, the US and also Lebanese military together, they manage to disarm Hezbollah or at least weaken it significantly, then, and also the blockade, the US blockade shows that the impact of US blockade on the Islamic Republic is far, far more significant than closing the Strait of Hormuz on the global economy, which was basically very little. And the only time they care about it is right before an election. Other times it seems like the Americans are willing to tolerate oil prices at above $80, between $80 to $100, is as long as it's not before an election. The closing of the Strait of Hormuz really doesn't have that much of an impact on global economy as the Islamic Republic was hoping for. So the Strait of Hormuz didn't end up being the leverage that the Islamic Republic was hoping it was. Hezbollah and Lebanon and Iraq, if you manage to take that away from the Islamic Republic, the same way that they did with Syria, the only thing that were remaining would be the enriched uranium. And if you could get a deal with the Islamic Republic to get the enriched uranium out, even if it's a deal that a lot of us will look at it or like, oh no, this is so bad, this is worse than the JCPOA. It doesn't matter. Once the enriched uranium, if it leads to getting the enriched uranium out, only if, like I'm not defending it 100%. If you get the enriched uranium out, and also you have IAEA inspectors inside Iran making sure that they have destroyed any enrichment, other enrichment facilities that the Islamic Republic may have, then you could violate the deal if you want after, because the Islamic Republic is going to give you plenty of excuses to show you that we're not violating the deal, they're violating the deal. And once you completely make them, give up everything, you do a Gaddafi on them, right? Like Gaddafi gave up his, did deals with the Americans and it gave up their nuclear stuff, and then it fell anyway. So it didn't work out for him. So just do a Gaddafi on the Islamic Republic, do a deal that a lot of the people on our side are going to hate, but just make sure you take the last leverage that they have, and then it will be easy to deal with them. Anyways, that went for so long. Noha, what do you think?
Can you hear me now? Sorry. No, I think you explained it perfectly. The one thing I'll add, I actually have a friend who's over in the Middle East, who's stationed in one of the Middle Eastern countries. I won't say which one. He has to wear flak bulletproof vests and stuff 24 hours. I hope so. Just keep our men in your guys' thoughts. Hopefully, I know we'll have casualties and stuff, but yeah. But no, you explained it perfectly, Armin.
Okay, I do want to hear other people on this, what they think. Sapir,
Okay.
Monkey, feel free. Yeah, okay.
Yes. So first, Monkey.
We spoke a little bit about this, about how the larger game that's being played, the defanging. I'm just seeing reports from Iraqi police. They're finding a lot of American money. They're finding a lot of evidence of the power projection that the IRGC was doing. And, defanging that is very important. And it's an important point to make that it's not just a strait. There's other things happening.
Wait, did people put twos in the chat? I'm not seeing any updates in the chat.
Yes.
okay.
Nets. Nets, you here?
Okay. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So can I be the local pessimist? I hear what you're saying. I don't disagree with any of the facts. But it doesn't feel to me like a great strategy. I mean, when we are doing this, when we look at all of the levels of proxies that Iran has, and we try to slowly disassemble them one by one, the outermost ones first. We are treating Iran like it is a great. I mean, we're treating the Islamic Republic like it's a great power, an equal to us, that we have to engage in some kind of long semi-cold war with. And I think the reason that I am frustrated is that I think that a better thing to do would be to try to actually achieve victory, to try to bring down the Islamic Republic. Now, right now, we're in this situation you described where both Iran and the US are committed to not escalating. And, that is a little depressing. But at various points while the war was going on, there were always these kind of suggested tactics, like maybe we could invade a few islands on the Strait of Hormuz or something like that. And it always seemed wrongheaded. I mean, the US is a great power, and the US could do more than that. And I think, I mean, I know there are military experts here who maybe understand better than I do what's possible, and I hope to hear them debunk me. But in my mind, a better strategy, if when we're trying to win, would be to try to make the Islamic Republic think that we're going to do these small things and then do something big. And I mean, if an American army appeared in Tehran and were able to free the people, that would be much more important than the strait being constricted or Lebanon firing a few missiles at Israel. And I know those things are hard. They would require more commitment than there is. But when you do the other thing, it goes on and on and on, and we're now seeing it go on and on and on. So I'll try to stop now and let other people react.
So but I have two questions, Nets. Do you agree that two questions? Do you agree if the United States is low, not low, but the missile interceptor stockpile goes to a level that would be irresponsible to keep using them, given that other things could happen, like with China and Russia and other places? do you agree that once you get to a certain level, it would be important for the United States to make sure that they have enough cushion to deal with other stuff that might happen around the world?
I do agree, but to repeat my point, I think that shows why it is a bad strategy not to try to win, not to try to rapidly achieve a conclusion. So because the US spent all this time and all this effort and took all these risks to attack, what was it, 17,000 targets, over a long period of time, but not in a way that really defeats the regime. They have to spend their interceptors, and one gets to a point where things are low. And
I'm gonna
so it's
intervene real
me
quick.
that-
No.
I wanna. Huh?
Okay, go ahead.
What would you call a win? What do you think the US needs to do?
I am not certain that the US wants a win, but I think that in order for the US to win when it is starting what is a war with the Islamic Republic, it must be the defeat of the Islamic Republic, the overthrow of the Islamic Republic. And and I know it's a big ask, but the only way that I know that the US by itself could ensure that would be by an invasion, possibly by an invasion with the help of allies. But this thing, I mean, I know that a lot was done, but it, it feels wrong that there wasn't an attempt at a win.
Okay, so a few things. First of all, I do appreciate the fact that you want the regime to fall. Even if we might disagree on the tactics, like I just want to remind everybody that we have similar desires here, right? When it comes to saying the the United States should have tried to done something rapid and fast to make the Islamic Republic fall, they tried to do that. That was the initial, like Operation Epic Fury was the most rapid military operations I think we've ever seen in modern military history. Like, I don't know if you like when you say they should have tried to do that rapidly so that they don't run out of munitions. I don't know how you could do more rapid than that. That was a record, in my opinion. The speed in which they went through the military assets of the Islamic Republic is unprecedented.
It isn't enough to go through the military assets of the Islamic Republic, as we've seen, to bring about its fall.
Yeah, but
and if you want me to give you an example of an operation that was fast, maybe it was easier, and certainly we can argue about its benefits. The invasion of Iraq that brought down Saddam Hussein was pretty fast. Now, after that, things kind of deteriorated, but...
Okay, there's a huge difference. First of all, the Islamic Republic has more power than Saddam had back then, right? They're more resilient. Second of all, United States is a democracy. The American voters, you're talking, first of all, when you say United States has huge military capabilities, yes, it does. It's not unlimited, though. There's limitations even to U.S. power. So just because we want something, it doesn't mean like United States has a button that could press it and it will happen. There's limitation even to U.S. power. Also, one main limitation to U.S. power is political capital, right? You might have a lot of military capital, but you might not have enough political capital. If you don't have the American will, like the Americans, you mentioned Iraq. Well, the Americans have a bad memory from what happened in Iraq, so they wouldn't want to allow their politicians to send ground troops on that scale into Iran. That is something that there is no political appetite for, both on the left and the right. So given that United States is a democracy, they wouldn't be able to, like, the politicians would be stopped by different ways. President Trump would have been stopped. Like, the president of the United States wouldn't be able, like, doesn't have enough power to force that in. And through democratic processes and checks and balances and other ways that the Senate and Congress have, if it got to that point, it would have been immediately stopped. Also, speaking about elections, another thing I think you agree with me is that if Democrats were in power, or if the Democrats have the control of the House and Senate, even what President Trump has done against the Islamic Republic, that wouldn't have, like, none of that would have happened, right? So it is important to do the things to make sure that the Democrats don't gain control in the Senate, in the House, and in the White House, if we want anything to happen at all. So you also have to take into account the political limitations of President Trump. Do you agree with that?
I do agree. However, I have kind of strong memories about how the time before the Iraq thing happened, and there was somehow a much kind of clearer debate about whether to do it or not. And there was an effort that Bush made to get votes in the Congress, which was non-trivial. I mean, he really had to twist arms. And one thing that I have to say I found a bit disappointing about the way that Trump started the war is that he didn't do more to argue for it. He has the bully pulpit, and it's possible that he can persuade people.
I mean, he did so many times mention that these motherfuckers are getting nuclear and nobody wants that. He did mention that over and over and over and over again. The comparison with Bush, I don't think, is right, because Bush had the advantage of not having the Americans thinking about bad experiences like Iraq and Afghanistan. Also, the Americans were ready for war because of 9/11. So 9/11 made Americans say, like, think like, yeah, let's go fuck these people up. We don't have a 9/11 in the United States, something similar to 9/11 right now in the United States, thankfully. And also, the Americans now remember Afghanistan and Iraq, and they don't want to repeat that. So that there's a difference, huge difference. These two make huge differences.
Okay, well, it's possible it could not have been done, but what I can say is that in his position, I would have at least tried to make the case, and the case I would have made would not be about nuclear. It would be about the fact that the Islamic Republic had murdered 40,000 people, and we cannot tolerate this kind of evil.
That wouldn't sell. That wouldn't sell in America, because then you would have to go and liberate North Korea. You would have to go liberate many countries in Africa. The United States would have to get involved in many other countries. The argument has to be something regarding how this is a benefit to American citizens' interest. It has to be that.
Oh, well, I mean, I think you should also have reminded people of the benefits that America had when Iran was its ally. I don't think that aspect of it should have been hidden either. But again, I don't completely know what's possible. I am often very frustrated by our politics and know that many things that I want to happen can't happen in our politics. But I am just using my voice here to express this frustration. I'm sorry, off point.
No, but I appreciate your heart, your big heart and your desire to see the Iranian people free. Like, I do appreciate that. Don't get me wrong. Let's see what other people have to say about this.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Varric has left, so Nail Bunny.
Hi. Yeah, originally I was going to reply to what you were talking about, Armin, but I just wanted to reply to Nets, and then I'll reply with my original reply. Just to point out that Iran is the size of Western Europe, except it's not as accessible. And on accessibility, as an example of using Europe, the Nazis entrenched themselves into Europe in only a couple of years, the Second World War. So much so that Europe was referred to as Fortress Europe, and no one could get in. And in fact, the D-Day landings launched from bases in the UK. And the US and Israel have no such bases. And they have had to do refueling and rearming, and it is much more difficult to do this, and it's much more time consuming. So keep that in mind. And also going back to the Nazis, they had a few years to entrench themselves, and the Islamic regime has had 47 years to entrench themselves and to create these proxies, these tentacles that stretch all, not just all across the Middle East, but all over the world. So they have their people that are willing to carry out acts, terrorist acts in their name all over the world. And the reason the European countries have been so basically pretty shit in terms of supporting the efforts of the US and Israel is because if they fail, they know that there are so many terrorist cells all across Europe, and definitely here in the UK, so much in the UK, that if it's a failure, then they're going to run riot all over. And there is that fear. Now, I 100% agree that choking them and destroying Hezbollah, Houthis, Hizbut Tahrir. So they choking those and destroying those is fantastic. That is an excellent way of going about it. Cut off their tentacles, make them so weak that they're completely isolated. I think it's I applaud it.
Okay. Thank you, Bunny. Jeffrey, you wanted to respond?
Disadvantage,
Okay.
deception, and denial. So there's that issue. As far as the operational pause, it was due, as Armin, pointed out. I've kind of mentioned numerous times on this show. The expenditure of critical long-range offensive munitions and/or defensive interceptors due to a couple of key factors: leftists and to a lesser degree Ron bots cannibalizing our national defense industrial base when it came to production of critical munitions since the Clinton era. You had leftists and Ron bots undermining our global war on terror, specifically delaying the conventional phase of Operation Iraqi Freedom, allowing Saddam to decentralize all of his attributes and turn a war of speed and intensity, as was correctly envisioned by former VP Cheney and Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld, into one of mass attrition, and subsequently diverted resources away from high-intensity systemic war, meaning like state actor versus state actor, and more towards low intensity extra state security concerns, a state acting United States versus a sub-state transnational terrorist organization. You had betrayal by some of our Western European member states of NATO, particularly Spain, France, the United Kingdom, and Germany, denying the use of our heavy bombers and our air bases, putting a disproportional amount of the impetus of the initial strike and or Operation Epic Fury on our subs and carriers. You add to that, like, both leftists and Ron bots divesting research into revolutionary technologies, specifically direct energy-based missile defenses. For example, Obama and Ron bot killing the free electron laser program by the Navy in 2011 after it had made like a whole bunch of breakthroughs, and subsequently, you know, providing us defensive architectures progress much more cost and productive exchange ratio. In other words, we don't have to worry about interceptors. You have all these different things, right? Strategic blunders by the Biden administration incentivized Putin and the Chi-Coms to act out, including the Mullah regime. You know, there's a lot of things that went into why we're having an operational pause. That doesn't mean that, you know, we're not getting ready to respond. Donald is actually signaling in his post that, you know, it may come a time where we're just going to have to finish the job. We're going to have to juggle all these different other, you know, responsibilities with that. There'll probably be more towards what's sometimes called munitions over target. Heavy range bombers will be doing a lot of work. Here's some other, as far as like President Trump not making the case, I think in many ways he did. That said, not to the degree that maybe it wasn't to the same degree as former President George W. Bush. And in part of that is due to the fact that President Trump was operating under extreme time compression due to the fact that the Mullah regime was getting ready to mass launch solid fuel ballistic missiles and drones in mass. And Israeli intelligence illustrated in no uncertain detail that there's a high, medium level of probability that the Mullah regime, then Mullah regime, now Mullah regime, I'm saying then, were marrying biological warheads to their missiles. And if they had fired in mass without us suppressing Mullah's long-range strike capability, even though Israel has a very capable integrated air missile defense, there would be some leakers. And if Israel gets hit with WMDs, Israel's strategic doctrine stated is to treat it as a nuclear strike, requiring a strategic response. In other words, President Trump, and they'd be right to do so because Israel has no strategic depth. It's up against an ocean. President Trump did what he did to suppress that initial launch capability so that we would preemptively short circuit the chain of escalation and subsequently wouldn't have nuclear weapons dropped inside Iran. So he didn't have time to do that. And to be honest, not for nothing, like nobody wants to, I mean, because like never Trumpers are never going to listen to him anyway. So, I mean, there's a lot of these different things moving around. You're not wrong. I very much appreciate the fact that you want to assist Iranian resistance and people because they have every right to be free. And we are indeed, a lot of us are still working along that. It wasn't 40,000, it's 100,000. Not to just correct you. I'm just saying I want to be sure to, you know, respect those that were murdered by the Mullah regime in pursuit of liberating Iran from the Mullah regime that legally occupies Iran since '79. That's about that's about the best I could do in it, you know, in the short time I had.
Jeffrey, you're getting more efficient and more understandable. So thank you for talking in a way that us little uninformed people could also to digest what you're saying. Thank you.
Okay, we have some super chats.
Oh yes. Sapir, I wanted to hear what you have to say. You don't want to share your opinion?
Oh, I'm gonna have a whole talking thing after that. So.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay, guys, let's get it ready for Sapir's.
To my ramblings.
Yes, that's good. We miss you. That's why I'm happy that you're gonna have your own segment. Okay, so we got 8. Holy crap, 8 super chats. Flesh is saying ships are moving. Shh, we aren't supposed to see. Ooh, okay. So We'll see the effects of that when the markets open. Thank you, Fleshy. Fleshy sees everything, even the stuff that we're not supposed to see. Mark with a super chat saying, will Mushtaba be expected at the funeral? That's the question everyone is asking. That's what everyone is asking. Oh, should have said expected to speak at the funeral. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, if we see him, that will be a big deal. If he speaks, that will be like, holy fucking shit. But everybody is waiting, and either way is going to be a big deal. If he doesn't show up, everybody is going to think, like, most people are going to be like, okay, he's dead, or he's so severely injured. If he shows up, that's going to be huge, because we're going to see Mushtaba for the first time. We'll see how healthy it is, but that's a big question. And guys, Ali Khamenei's funeral is on July 4th. Okay, I don't know for what fucking reason they decided to have it on July 4th, but it's on July 4th. So on July 4th, we all will see whether Mushtaba will show up at his dad's funeral or not. And then let me see. We got another super chat by Chris. Thank you so much, Chris, saying, true, Trump wants to be known as a deal maker, not win. Giving the regime multiple times to regroup isn't a smart plan. IRGC has to go or big waste. Well, I mean, again, Operation Epic Fury has been one of the most significant military operations that we have ever seen in modern history. And one way or like, it's objective reality that nothing has been more damaging to the Islamic Republic in its history more than Operation Epic Fury and Operation Economic Fury. So I don't know, when you say that they're giving them time to regroup, to be honest, they're not. Like, they are, as we're speaking, they're working on removing their most important leverages. But what the Americans also need to regroup. You know, sometimes we treat United States, because it's a superpower, as if it's God. You know, United States military does get tired. It does need a break. It does need regrouping. It does need recovery time. You know, it's not like a video game that you could just press buttons and then your enemy will do a cheat code and then stuff will show up and then you just resupply everything endlessly. It doesn't work like that. There are limitations. And you're talking about the IRGC regrouping and recovering. What about the United States? They need that as well. And also the elections. Again, we have talked about the elections. Yes, Texas is saying we are their Allah now. Yeah, they're treating. Why did they stop? Like, okay, I guess that's what President Trump means when it says praise to be Allah. I think maybe he's talking about the United States. We got another super chat. Fleshy Interloper, thank you, saying Iraq cuts Hezbollah supply line. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. You know, if you want to arm Hezbollah from inside Iran, you need to go through Iraq and Syria. So fall of Assad has made it very difficult. But to be fair, Syria is very unstable. So the Islamic Republic still finds way to go through Syria. Losing Iraq would be devastating, because Iraq is not as chaotic as it used to be. So you will be able to do more to stop the Islamic Republic if you have if you take both Iraq and Syria away from them. And then Sarah with the super chat saying, super chat for our hardworking, beloved Armin. Well, thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that. It's great to be recognized. And then we have Zipgun with a super chat saying, the DSA will gain seats in Congress. What do you think the effect will be for Iran, Israel? Well, it can be good, obviously. These are, if you're a commie, you're very likely anti-Israeli at the same time. And these people are probably going to vote against, they're isolationists, they're anti-Israel, they're anti-the Iranian people, they're pro the Islamic Republic. So the effect is negative. This is why we need to do more of what we're doing over here. And we need to also target young people better, because the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, they're going for the young, they're brainwashing them. So we need to figure out ways to reach out to younger people and show them, why capitalism works and why socialism and Marxism fails. And thank you, Zipka. Justin with the super chat saying there's too many partisan Democrats suffering from TDS to really push the narrative. There's so many politicians that would literally rather Islamic Republic get nukes than give war powers to Trump. Let that sink in. I mean, yeah, in this case, TDS is correct. Sometimes people use TDS too loosely against people who are just disagreeing with them. Even though sometimes, they praise Trump, sometimes they criticize him. But on this case, I think you agree. And I go further. I would say that many of these people within the Democratic Party actually are defending the Islamic Republic. Like, they are hoping for their win. I've seen that. Like, I'm not exaggerating. Like, they are actually on their side. So, and by the way, it's true also with some people, isocox on the right as well. I watched Nick Fuentes videos. He praises the Islamic Republic, and he is hoping that they win against the United States. And he calls himself America first, by the way, while praising America's enemies. And then Noah with the super chat. Thank you so much, Noah, saying, I hope he shows up. More cutlets. Let's talk about Mishtabo. Another super chat from Noah saying, this super chat is for the confetti. Oh, thank you. You get us to our goal. Thank you, Noah. And then last super chat comes from Supreme. Oh my God. Dictator. Supreme Dick Taker. Okay. Thank you for the super chat saying, I've redone my profile pic in support of the funeral. I can't see what it is. Oh, it's an ice cream truck with Mujtaba Khamenei next to it. Yes, so some people are wondering if Ali Khamenei's body is going to be moved around in an ice cream truck, given that he's been in a fridge for more than 100 days. Maybe bringing him out of a fridge is not going to be pretty, so maybe just moving him around in an ice cream truck will work out. Yeah. All right, so who's next?
Jeffrey was supposed to be next. I didn't understand if he said what he wanted to say or not.
It was just a one for a general sit wrap of what's going on in the past 24 hours, if you want.
Okay, do it.
All right. So, quick overview of some of the main events going on in the Persian Gulf and/or Strait of Hormuz. U.S. actions between yesterday at 5 to today, as everybody kind of knows, the United States targeted 10 sites on the in or near the Strait of Hormuz, specifically on Qasem Island and a couple other places in response to the Mullah regime targeting certain commercial ships. A second one, by the way, was carrying 2 million barrels of oil. We hit surveillance infrastructure, communication systems, air defense sites, drone storage facilities, mine laying capabilities, missile and drone storage, and coastal radar. Basically, removing the elements of the regime remnants uses to hold shipping at risk. Israeli actions, so our IDF allies, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Katz directed the IDF to prepare for a long extended military presence on Lebanon, very much looking to disarm Hezbollah and defend northern Israeli residents. JDF conducted strikes in southern Lebanon. Mullah regime remnants, IRGC actions. So, the IRGC remnants launched joint missile and drone attacks targeting U.S. military sites in Kuwait, Al Salam Air Base in Bahrain. The Fifth Fleet, we're on the vicinity of the Fifth Fleet. Kuwaiti air defense is engaged. Sirens are sounded in Bahrain. The regime remnants tried to frame that as retaliation for U.S. strikes and warned that they would be much, stronger if we respond. I don't think President Trump's too worried. I think he's getting ready to finish these guys. Hezbollah's actions. So I can't pronounce his first name. Naim Qasem. I don't know. Not
Naim.
Hopefully
Naim
living
Qasem.
very much longer.
Naim Qasem.
Yeah, fuck him. Anyway, so, issued a strong rejection of U.S. brokered Israeli-Lebanon framework because, as Armin's talking about, we're trying to sit there and upgun the Lebanese military so that they can better deal with the sub-state transnational version of herpes that is Hezbollah, that they've had to deal with for quite a while. Commercial shipping in the Strait, commercial aircraft in the region. I want to give a shout out to Kat again for all of her open intelligence efforts. So yeah, the major incident, right? The Kiku tanker was hit by an Iranian one-range drone. We responded. What's the status? Shipping continues with elevated risk. U.S. threat level, raised the threat level to substantial, and cleared or expanded alternative routes near Oman. Regime remnants continues to push for its preferred routes so they can, of course, milk you for money because they're like the Fredo of friggin' terrorism. Anyway, that's a Godfather reference. Commercial aircraft in the region, no major new incidents, so there's or cancellations or widespread disruptions specifically tied to in the past 22 hours. There's definitely lingering caution regarding, this area. Trump's statements, he made very clear, accused the regime remnants of violating the ceasefire again was in caps, by attacking shipping, and warned there may come a point where there is no longer able to be reasonable and will be forced to militarily complete the job that we very successfully started. And if that happens, the Islamic Republic of Iran will no longer exist. Basically, he said he's getting ready to finish them off, and a lot of us are pushing for him to do so, or not pushing because you can really not pushing Donald, kind of suggesting to Donald that he should do so. Bibi's statements very much is centered around strengthening Israel and Lebanese cooperation with the goal of defanging or eliminating Hezbollah. Regime remnants, I don't really want to care about what they say. They're pretty soon, they're not going to be having to say shit at all. So what's the kind of overall picture? The U.S. and our Israeli allies have applied direct military and political pressure in the past 22 hours and strikes on regime remnants' capabilities and extended pressure against Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Regime remnants are continuing to try and provoke with asymmetric attacks, and they're going to probably get a response they're not going to like. Shipping remains tense but operational. There's no major aviation issues. That's kind of where things sit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. I saw no one put a 2. Armin, do you want to say something?
No, I just got a super chat from Casey, and it's for Jeffrey, saying, Jeffrey, great job yesterday. Keep it up. Thank you, Casey.
Okay. Then I guess it is my turn. We're going to give you some updates from Israel. But first, Armin, do you want me to show what I sent you? You want me to show people?
That is adorable. Sorry, I'm so sorry I saw it late. I'm getting so many notifications.
Okay.
I just wanted to message you on WhatsApp saying like, oh, I'm so glad that you're here. And I saw like, oh no, I don't know those. Okay, but those are adorable. Yeah, please share that.
Okay. So, for the people who don't know, I work in a Montessori kindergarten. So we use every big event in the world to teach something for the kids. So because there's the whole soccer matches and stuff, we used it to teach them about all kinds of countries and flags. And I saw that the Iranian flag is not okay. So I told the kids that the Iranian flag is confused, and we're gonna help him. I'm gonna help the flag. Let me see.
This is in Israel for people who might not know. Sapir is in Israel.
Yeah. I'm gonna download those real quick because I want to have it in a separate tab. But I'm just gonna tell you for now that I basically tried my best to draw the line in the sun. Tried. And then we went outside to the yard and we hung it up. Okay.
You want me to share it instead? Okay, got it?
There is a reason that I want to do it separate. I mean, you can share it. You can share it because
How about this? How about you do your topic and then we do someone else after when someone else is doing their topic, then you could prepare it and then you could share it. Because if I share it, then it's gonna be okay. So let's do your topic.
Yeah.
And then do that. Yeah.
Okay. So a few updates from Israel. So jets and the airspace. We'll start with that. I've been hearing tons of American jets in the sky, and not just me, but a lot of other Israeli in the past few days. That came with a notice of a lot of cancellations of flights, including my flight, even though it's in August. And apparently all the big flight companies have canceled till new notice any flights outside of Israel. So I'm just gonna put it out there. And low cost and it are still working. Low cost will work till they have no choice. Now the last few days in Israel, when we're talking about the political view, there is a lot of noise about the agreement with Lebanon, about how we're acting. We found a lot that there's a lot of people on the right that started to criticize Bibi more than usual, even people that were supportive of him before, because the whole feeling like he is following what the Americans tell him to do, especially now with the agreement in Lebanon. People remember how the last agreement, now there was agreement between Israel and the Lebanon government and the Lebanese government back in 1983, if I remember correctly. And it worked for a while until Hezbollah messed things up. And the fear is that us doing an agreement with Lebanon will only make things worse now, because this is what happened last time, because we've seen that the Lebanese army isn't really capable of actually taking care of Hezbollah. That is the general feeling that we have on in Israel right now. Due to that agreement, we withdrew from 2 different villages, not the entire of South Lebanon, but 2 villages. And today the US has said that this is just the start, and they want Israel to withdraw from the entirety of Lebanon with time and replace it with the Lebanese military, which again, a lot of feelings there. But at the same time, just a few hours ago, it was an hour ago, just an hour ago, the military has announced to people in the north to not be afraid, because there will be very loud explosions because of a collapse they will do for a huge tunnel of Hezbollah. This is what the IDF spokesman said, that they are collapsing a huge tunnel of Hezbollah. And we already have some videos and reportings of loud explosions happening right now in South Lebanon. This is like just now happening. And the rest of the things happening in Israel is basically the same thing that I said last time I was here. That people don't really know what's happening. Some people are all the way in. Some people are afraid that we kind of give up. Some people think, oh, it's all part of a big strategy. But that's the general view and the general things that are happening in Israel. I'd say that the more focus now in Israel is about the Hasidic Jews from Jerusalem specifically, that have been blocking entire roads for days now, because they say that they will die before they go into the military. which is a whole other thing, and I did a video about it. but yeah, so this is general stuff from Israel right now. Oh yeah, it's still going on now. It's really bad. It's getting worse actually. But yeah, that's it.
Well, thank you. This is going on. So again, if I think once this news comes out in the next segment that I'm doing with Ali, we're going to look into the details of this, and we're going to be reading So I'm assuming that this is going to be a big news as in the next couple of hours. I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah. Another thing. Oh wait, I just got more details about it. But before I'll read that out, another thing is that also a thing that happened today is that the Shabak, which is like the internal it's like the internal Mossad, has warned the military and the government that for the past month, you see a lot of recruitings of Hamas for young men between 18 and 21, and signs of making more weapons and bombs. And that's like all we got from that, right? We know that there was a whole conversation, but obviously most of it is classified.
All right, so let me I just got so this is just an update based on what you're saying on 13 minutes ago, saying Netanyahu's office announced that a Hezbollah tunnel in, let me see where this is, Majdal zone. Okay, basically southern Lebanon has been detonated. According to the statement, the tunnel was 200 meters long and 25 meters deep. So yeah, we've been hearing about these tunnels for a long time. These are some of the most advanced tunnels. These are much more sophisticated than, even my understanding is more sophisticated than Hamas tunnels.
Oh, way more. They're way bigger, longer, wider. They're way more structured. And it contained hundreds of weapons, several launch shafts intended to strike the territory of Israel and its citizens, including long-range ballistic missiles. Israel has informed the U.S. and the American representative in Lebanon in advance about the destruction. It was planned and coordinated between them. The IDF commanders and fighters will remain in security zone in southern Lebanon and will continue to destroy terrorist infrastructure, remove threats from northern communities, and maintain security in the area. That is like the full statement.
All right, before we move on, I just also want to remind people that we were discussing this yesterday, and what we discussed is that these tunnels are basically North Korean designs that North Korea gave to the Islamic Republic, and Islamic Republic gave to Hezbollah and Hamas. So these tunnel designs come directly from North Korea. All right.
Yeah, that's actually a lot of that. Not just with Lebanon. It's something that we saw in Syria back. I don't know if you remember when there was the plan with North Korea to create nuclear weapon when Assad was still in control, and the mysterious bombing that happened in that area that nobody knows who did, and nobody knows what happened. Kind of. But North Korea, Russia, and China have been documented multiple times sending supplies, plans, infrastructure, and physical workers to those areas that under control of terrorist infrastructure to help them.
All right. Thank you for that update. Is there any twos, or should I go? Oh yeah, I see a couple of twos. So I know Sapir was modding, so she didn't see the twos. I mean, she was talking, so she's. Let me see. I think the twos are
I see Nets. I
Nets,
see
yeah.
Monkey.
Okay. Nets and Link.
Hi.
Nets.
You guys in Israel are about to have some elections too. Is there any sense about what the likely outcome is and how that might affect foreign policy?
Oh, what that's a complicated, interesting one. Because now there's the propaganda war that you have in the elections before any elections in any country, where every channel with his right leaning or left leaning presenting a different data. Technically, the data shows that BB is still the Likud is still the big party that everyone wants to vote to, but it seems like it's been fading away, especially the closer we get to it. We're gonna have a lot of background noise. I personally don't think the Likud will be elected again, just because of the amount of young voters that want a change, especially after the last time. Because in the last time, for the people who didn't know, we had 5 elections in 3 years because it was so close between the left and the right. And the problem with that is that we have a lot of childish shit happening in the government, where all the right parties are saying, oh, we're not going to talk, we're not going to unite with the left, and all the left parties, oh, we're not going to talk, we're not going to unite with the right. Some of them has been saying changing their mind. We don't really know. We'll probably have to wait a bit more. How will affect the foreign policy? That is a good question that I am not capable of answering.
So one thing that I hear from many Israelis, which I don't know if it's true or not, is when it comes to the Islamic Republic, not much is going to change, because the policy of maximum migration to the Islamic Republic is beyond the who's the prime minister. And I ask, what about the strategy? Wouldn't the strategies change? And some people are like, not really, not that much, because these strategies are made by, I don't know, the IDF and Mossad mostly. But I'm not saying that's
Mostly
true.
Mossad.
Yes, but I'm not saying that's true. But that's what I'm hearing from some Israelis, that Israel is committed to ending the Islamic Republic and its proxies, no matter who's in charge.
The reason I'm saying it's complicated is because, keep in mind, Bibi have been up there for many, many years. And one of the constant thing that he claimed before every elections is pretty much fear-mongering about how the left will give up to the terrorists. They will make a Palestinian country.
That's true,
and
though.
they will.
No, the left. Yeah.
The left in Israel is a bit. It's not like in the West. Like, there are some parties.
I know, but they're
that
still
like
for.
that.
That's true, but they're still for the two-state solution. So, fuck that.
Most of them are not at this point, and they have been declaring it, especially in the past 2 years.
Which party are we talking about?
And that's the thing. That's also a big thing in Israel.
So here's the
What
thing.
is right and left?
Okay, so that's what I'm saying, because a lot of people get accused of being left, but they're not really left. I'm talking about the actual left in Israel, like the left.
I can't tell you what is the left in Israel anymore.
Okay.
I really can't.
Okay. Well, here I'll give you a hint. The people who are for the two-state solution. Okay.
That's not many people. Most people that are for two-state solutions.
That's because the left has been destroyed in Israel. I think, like, there is not that much of a left.
In general, for the past, and not just since October 7th, in general, there was the reshaping of what it means to be a leftist and what it means to be a right. in Israel, and that's like a lot of people start to consider the Likud as a leftist party now.
I know that's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about the people who get accused of being the left. I'm talking about people who are genuinely still like really left leaning, which is a very tiny amount.
There's a very tiny amount of it, because even the people that are for a two-state solution, and keep in mind, a lot of Israelis are out for a two-state solution if Palestinians will ever like change the way they actually think and educate and teach, because that's usually what you will hear from like you ask an Israeli,
but that shouldn't be a thing. That shouldn't be a thing either, you know, because if means basically they could pretend for a while that they're behaving. The point is that if Palestine ever becomes a country, they could temporarily behave, but as soon as it becomes an independent nation state, it will become the target of all mobilization against Israel, and they will migrate to that country. They will change demographically, re-engineer it. They will brainwash the children, and you will go back to wanting to destroy Israel like that.
And some of the people are actually for that, because some of the people see that the moment Palestine becomes a real country, there is no occupiers anymore. That if it becomes a full country and it attacks, then this is all the justification that Israel needs to go full on. Because that's another way that some people might look at it.
Anyways, let's move on to other people, because I saw some. I think I saw two more twos. Oh yeah, Monkey and then Samantha.
Yeah, a lot of Samantha.
Okay, now the Israel thing I wanted to talk a little bit about was the thing with Lebanon. I understand that this is pretty historic. I kind of called it. I said what is being done here is Israel and Lebanon are being pushed to stay together because you don't want anyone else working it out for you. So you guys hash it out. I think that what's going to be needed in the Lebanese army is to flush out the people that are sympathetic to Hezbollah. Any Hezbollah simps need to be weeded out. There's going to need to be cooperation with Mossad and Israel to be able to use your intelligence and the CIA to be able to flush these people out, because you're not going to have an effective Lebanese army if their operations are getting snitched on by Hezbollah insiders. I think that's the most important thing. I don't know if you have any news of anything like that, like a police type cooperation, military type cooperation, but the best thing for Lebanon and Israel is for there to be a joint operation against Hezbollah, because that way no outsider can say, oh my God, Israel is bombing Lebanon. I said, no, Israel is assisting Lebanon because Lebanon asked for help and they're working together. But no outsider, well, they're going to talk shit anyway. But, you know, their talking shit will be a lot harder to justify. They're going to do it anyway. But, you know, I believe this is a good thing. And I am hopeful for the future, but I do have to be realistic about the problems of flushing out those sympathetic simps in the Lebanese army. Other than that, that's just the part of it that I wanted to address.
I mean, yeah. Even now, the withdrawal from the two villages, it's not like in a moment. It's been cleared for a long time, and it's all in coordination with the Lebanese military. How will it go? That those two villages are right outside of the basically established line that Israel made, and that's to test the water. And I assume that the longer this goes on, and only if we see it succeeds, to start withdrawing a bit more. But obviously I can't predict. I can only tell you what's been happening today and yesterday, because this is when it all happened. It's the last 24 hours been crazy.
I'd look for Hezbollah, like Lebanese army arrest of people that are found sympathetic to Hezbollah within the Lebanese army. I would find that as a clear sign of them being serious.
Okay.
It's a complicated issue, and I can't tell you that we have enough details for it. Maybe someone in the Mossad has, but we do not know the full picture. So I can only say what I know and what I think.
All right, let's move on to next, because I want to make sure we get more topics today. I think it's Samantha.
Yeah. So I want to say that you have to get pretty far left to be pro two-state solution still at this point, unless
Good.
you want, like, there's people who, if asked, will say maybe like way in the future we can have a conversation about two-state solution, but like no time soon. In other words, like they're not going to take steps during their term. And like even of the people who say like they ultimately want a two-state solution, like even someone like Yair Golan, or like, I think when it comes to it, it's like even these people, like they still recognize that like it's going to have to be far in the future if the Palestinians can massively de-radicalize, and God only knows when that's going to be. It may never happen, and it's, you know, it would have to happen in slight incremental phases. Like, you know, like I'm just going to say for like how I feel, because like I identify as being pro two-state solution. Over the course of 4 years, if the Palestinians did absolutely everything I could ever hope for them and perfectly, the most I would do is maybe like lift some restrictions on like how much concrete can go into Gaza, and maybe like experimentally try pulling IDF out of a tiny village somewhere. But like that would be most after 4 years of like taking steps to, like, you know, so to act like, you know, you're gonna see cities where the IDF is being evacuated in someone's term, and you know it's gonna, like, I don't think most, you know, people who were even pro two-state solution would even dream of over the course of 4 years evacuating the IDF from major swaths of the West Bank.
Okay, let me be clear. I did not say that this is what a lot of people think. No, like majority of people that talk about actually having a two-state solution, they, in general, like just the concept that maybe one day, if Palestinians are actually be peaceful and there is no more hate, like this is like the general consensus. Obviously, there are a lot more people that in general will be like, no, there shouldn't be any country for Palestinians ever. There shouldn't even be Palestinians. Some do say that. But yeah, most of the people that say they're pro two-state solutions in Israel, I genuinely are talking about like, oh, we accept.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we covered that. I think we covered that point.
Yeah.
I think let's move on to the next topic. Just one line. I also have two super chats, but just one line before we go. Every single person, every single country, every single society who trusted the Palestinians, even for a little bit, regretted it bigly. Okay,
I agree.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not talking against you guys. I'm just saying that the idea, like, hey, maybe this time would be different, I think it's insanity, right? And yeah, okay. So we got two super chats. Ehef with a super chat saying, if Russia loses, what impact? Okay, if Russia loses, what impact do you think it will have on Iran? That's a big ally and market to possibly lose. Yes, it's a drone market for the Islamic Republic, which is a huge source of funding for the Islamic Republic. Also, it's a huge global influence. Both Putin and the CCP are main supporters of the Islamic Republic. So a weakened Russia will be a significant blow to the Islamic Republic, like huge. The Islamic Republic is basically, is technically like proxies of the CCP and Putin. In some senses, you could consider it like that. So if, in the same way that Hezbollah and Hamas are proxies of the Islamic Republic itself is proxies of the CCP and Putin. So in the same way that if the Islamic Republic falls, it would be devastating for Hamas and Hezbollah. If Putin, if Russia is weakened significantly, then it would be devastating for the Islamic Republic. It would have a significant impact. And then we have Selectivist. Thank you so much for the super chat, saying we about to ceasefire the shit out of them. Yes. Love that line. I should use that again. All right, so what's the next topic?
I haven't really seen any ones ever since. Like I haven't scrolled up the chat, so
Okay. Let me give you some updates here. Okay. So Iran just canceled. I mean, the Islamic Republic, I'm just reading it off of here. So the Islamic Republic just canceled talks over what's happening regarding what's considered a violation of the MOU. So let me check that. They did not take part in technical talks that was about to just happen, because they say that the recent attacks on the country and unfulfilled conditions of the memorandum of understanding with the United States, a member of the Office of the preservation and publication of the works of the Iran Supreme Leader told State TV on Sunday. They said, this is their statement. For example, one of the reasons is checking if we have access to the unfrozen funds. If there is no access, then this condition has not been fulfilled. So I think all of this is for show. I think the Islamic Republic is continuing the negotiations with the United States secretly. But every time you hear a report that the talks has been paused, I think this is just as a demonstration to their internal audience that they're playing, hard to get. But I think that there's the meetings that they have for show, for the media that we're talking, and then there's the actual negotiations behind the scenes. And the actual negotiation behind the scenes, I think they continue. But the ones that are for show for the media, every once in a while they stop it as a way to suggest that look, we're playing tough, we're being tough with the Americans, right? And let me see this one. Iran.
I also have the pictures ready.
Oh yeah. Okay, show me.
You already saw them, the pictures of the kids.
Yeah, no, let me show everyone else.
Okay. Here we go.
No, so cute.
That was my best attempt at trying to draw them, and they obviously painted it. Keep in mind, those are 2.5, 3-year-old kids. So,
that is so cute.
We saw here in the Montessori kindergarten, we study about all the flags in the soccer. And then we saw
they kept saying, "Oh, I don't see it. I don't see it."
So we made a new one.
I don't see the new mark.
We can fix it.
Oh.
Here we go.
And I just said to them, "Oh, we fixed it. We fixed the flag."
Wait, can I show this on the Persian show? Can I show this?
Maybe just this picture, not anything of the kids and stuff.
Of course, not the kids. Just not any of their faces.
I mean,
what you just showed here.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Just that.
And if I'm already on the WhatsApp.
Okay. Maybe stop sharing. Oh no. Okay. Because you have something else. Okay.
Yeah. This is the tunnels in Lebanon, the Hezbollah tunnels. right now. That's actively happening. Like just a few minutes ago, they're checking to see if there are more weapons and checking to see if there are more explosive or things that they need to be careful before they fully take it down.
That is a very advanced tunnel.
Oh yeah, their tunnels are very big. I don't know if you've ever seen. Yeah, I don't know if you ever seen like the big videos that they've been doing. Let me stop sharing. Yeah. But Hezbollah have been doing like all kinds of like videos showing off how huge their tunnels are and how everything is new and fancy. Like it's like I said, it's constructed way better. It's fortified. It's huge. But yeah, we are collapsing right now one of those big tunnels as we speak.
All right, here's got more updates regarding the talks that has been frozen. This is just happening. The Wall Street Journal reported, citing informed sources, that the talks between the United States and the Islamic Republic, which were scheduled to resume in Switzerland at the end of the week, have been postponed following the resumption of attacks by both sides. And then we got another update saying several media outlets quoting an American official reported that despite the attacks by both sides, the talks with the Islamic Republic have not been canceled. And the exchange of messages through channels continues. Hey, I knew it. See, I was right. People like guys, I promise I did not read that before I said that. Like, guys, even if they say it's canceled, it's not canceled. And now they're reporting at like, yeah, they're just talking on WhatsApp with each other. So I was right. And then Axios reported that the United States and the Islamic Republic have reached an agreement to halt attacks and hold a meeting this week. There you go. I knew it. So the media within the Iran by the Islamic Republic, they're like, yep, we canceled it. We're not talking. But now they're talking and everything is going exactly as predicted. I have a question for people here, because I do want us to talk more about get in the habit of talking more about American politics as we get closer to the midterms. How significant is it that members of Democratic Socialists of America, DSA, now have seats in Congress? Monkey, can you speak on that? They just want.
I went over this.
Tell us what happened, and then also, give us your take.
I went over this on my channel. They have a strong foothold in New York. What's happening on the left is that these guys are taking over the left, right? So it's making the left harder. Like, some people had a hope, maybe the left will go back to the old left. No. What we're having is accelerationism. The only good thing about this is that accelerationism leads to a backlash. These people, because this happened in a blue state in New York, these people didn't lose but they were fighting someone from the right wing. They won because they were more left than the left. These are people that have worked in unions. They come from unions. They come from organizing. One of them was like an organizer against Israel. One of them had to disassociate because of the statements from the DSA on October 7, but still has this anti-Israel view. The DSA isn't just anti-capitalism or anti-free market. It is anti-Israel. It is I would say anti-Jewish. I don't think they even care if it's Israel or not. They're just attacking people on their side. These people are attacking people on the left that have the same views for being Jewish, right? Because they're not speaking loud enough or fast enough, whatever the excuse is to attack him. This is not bode well for New York. As for their power in Congress and the Senate, well, it's New York. It was going to be blue anyway.
Oh, New York.
You understand what I'm saying?
Sorry.
Like,
so I made a mistake then, right? So it's not in Congress; it's just in New York.
No, in both. There's, I think, 3 seats were in play in the larger game, and locally, I think it was 9 to 12. I don't remember exactly. I think it was no, I think it was 12 total, 9 in the state, and 3 that go to the federal level. But these seats were already going to blue. It was either this Democrat or another Democrat. What you have now is that these Democrats will not work with the right. It will not work at all with the right. There will be no consensus. There will be no way to caucus with them. They won't agree on anything. And what they're going to do is I think they'll weaken the left, because the people that are more malleable on the left will be attacked by them. You understand what I'm saying? And wherever things are purple and they're trying to push out the left for not being left enough, a more purple district would rather go for a rhino red than a commie red socialist. You know what I'm saying? They'd rather go for a rhino Republican than a communist Democrat. If you had an old, an old blue dog Democrat, they might vote for that, right? But the blue dog Democrats are losing, and they're losing to these people. With that happening, anybody that would go for a blue dog Democrat or a rhino Republican, all right, or someone that's kind of somewhere in the middle, that they still believe in law and order, but I think it's not good for them. It's not good for anyone. But I'm not having a lot of hope for New York, but I'm having more hope that this acceleration is going to have a backlash. That's how I would put it.
So here's a Texas troop in the live chat is saying they did not gain seats in the federal house. Is that and then let me get
like I said, these seats were already blue, right? What I would say is that they switched candidates to even more socialist, leftist, like extreme left. So that's one of the things I said, that these seats were already blue. They weren't going to go red, but they're becoming even harder to caucus with.
And then Texas troop is also saying, Texas troop, who should join our group calls because she's really active in American politics. She's also saying they are not socialists or communists. They are Jacobin. How do you pronounce it?
I went over all the statements that they made on my show last night. I went over the things that they said. Yes, she is correct. Some of them were talking about Jacobianism, but if you're gonna take them, you're gonna take them what they're actionable on. They ran on Palestine. They ran on defunding Israel. They ran on an AIPAC ticket, anti-AIPAC ticket. They ran on running with Mandami and Mandami's socialist aligned. Like, if you're gonna go, what got them the vote? That's what got them the vote. That's what they promised. I don't know if they spoke a lot in their speeches about Jacobianism. I did see in the reports that they do have that kind of I would say leanings in what they've said about themselves.
Okay, in one line, can you explain what is that Jacobianism? Isn't that?
No, I read. It's like, he's not wrong in that they say that. I don't know what it is.
Okay. And then we have, and also Texas troop is saying they are not Democrats. Stop calling them Democrats. Call them Marxists. And then Texas troop also saying the DNC. Okay. And also Texas troop is saying the DNC is about to go into a civil war. That's
correct.
That's a good, okay. All right. Daniel's saying let's hope. All right, who's next?
Jose is next to respond.
Okay, Sketch, just want to double check something. Was that a election to select the Democratic candidate? Or was that the election to put someone into Congress?
They're nominees. They're taking over that seat, and then they have to go into the primary, which we all know is in November.
Okay, so there's a chance that they don't make it. It depends on how badly the people of New York realize, oh, we fucked up by not showing up to the vote. So there's still that chance. The true danger of this is what they've been promising to do, because they told Schumer and Jeffries that they're on the way out the door. At least we know who those two people are. If they take those two people out of the Democratic Party, yeah. Texas Trooper, you need to come on to the chats, because we definitely need your opinion on some of these things. But you're right, there will be a civil war within the Democratic Party, and there will be no blue wave.
Thank you, Jose. Samantha, you're next.
I told you, America's youth are becoming more and more communist. And no, I am not happy about this, because they're also very anti-Israel, and I'm very concerned about those views. I will say, though, you have to get very, very far left to be at the point where you're dealing with people who openly hate Jews without making any distinguishment between Jews and Zionists. You have to get very far left at that point. Like, the standard DSA person is not that far left that they're gonna, like, the general average DSA person who's not like a political Islam, who's not like also Muslim, is going to make the distinction between a Zionist and a Jew at this point. They'll definitely like trivialize Jewish suffering and Jewish pain, and classify things as like, oh, it's an attack on Zionists because that temple had an Israeli flag, so it was really a Zionist temple, not a Jewish temple. But they won't openly be like, saying, oh, it's okay to hurt that to firebomb the temple because it's a place where Jews worship. They'll still hide behind some, at least, mask or veil of anti-Zionism. So I just want to point that out. But yeah, no, America is becoming more more people are starting to support communism, especially amongst the youth. It is happening. So communism, it really is going to be the future, because
Okay, let's go to Neil Bunny next.
Yeah, they're becoming more communist because of the long march through the institutions. It's because it's what they've been teaching in the American universities for.
Neil Bunny, your audio is a bit low.
Really?
Just come closer,
Okay.
maybe.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's better. Okay, I think I was covering up my microphone. So I was saying is that the reason why they're becoming more communist is simply because of the long march through the institutions that's been going on for decades. So they're being taught it. It isn't, they're being taught it, and they're being taught at the same time to never question or argue. That was the key thing, is that it isn't that people weren't being taught this before, but now there's this idea that if you disagree, you're horrible and evil. If you, if you argue with anybody, you're a bad person. If you disagree with anyone, you're a bad person. So people don't disagree anymore. They're afraid to disagree because all of their friends will suddenly tell them off and not talk to them anymore. And that's it. That's why it's working. It's like they found, oh, this is the Holy Grail. This was the thing we were missing before, because before they would learn it, or they'd learn about it or whatever, and then eventually they'd be like, yeah, I don't really agree with that. After they bought their own car or started to try and buy a house or something, they realized that it's really juvenile, but it's entrenched now because no one will argue. And I just wanted to point out, it just occurred to me, there is one thing that Keir Starmer did that was good. And that is when he took over leadership of the Labour Party in the UK, he actually did get rid of the communists. They had come in and they'd been squatting there a while, and they were led by Jeremy Corbyn. And they were trying to transform the Labour Party, and they did a pretty good job of it, and they were sort of winning with that. And he did come, and then they were really massively anti-Semitic. And so basically Labour was exposed for being extremely anti-Semitic. So when Keir Starmer took over, his mandate was to expel them all and get rid of all the anti-Semites. Now, he did largely do that. He got rid of the communists. The communists were all anti-Semites, and they all fled to the Labor Party, not Labor Party, sorry, the Green Party. So they took off to the Green Party largely. And then at the same time, the Islamists were denied their own party, that they were denied, you couldn't have an Islam party. And so they joined the Green Party. So everybody's in the Green Party, essentially wearing their, their clothes of the Green Party, but they don't care about the environment. They don't, they're just using them. And I think the same thing is happening in the US, is that the DSA, Islamists, they're all the same. They're basically in, rather than leaving and joining another party, no, because the US is such a strongly two-party system, they have to just transform the Democratic Party. They have to take advantage of the fact that everybody in the Democratic Party thinks that, oh, we're a big tent and there's room for everybody and be tolerant and blah, blah, blah. And then they're using that. And they are going to transform the Democratic Party. They have almost completely done it already. I mean, there's only John Fetterman. I mean, they're winning. And if people are actual liberals, and like the real meaning of the word liberal, if they are actual liberals and they want to save the Democratic Party, what they have to do is I think the primary is over, but they need to have voted for the least crazy person in the primary. And if the least crazy person didn't win, they have to vote for the Republican. If they want to save their party, that's what they have to do. They have to show that you're not going to take over our party. And I don't see any other way other than, I don't know, basically a purge like Keir Starmer did to the Labour Party, which is possible, I suppose.
Isn't it in the US, there's less control mechanism regarding who gets in than the UK, so you can't do a purge?
Well, in the UK, some parties, you don't really have to jump through very many hoops to join. They'll take you. And the Green Party is like that. The Green Party is everybody can join. I mean, you can join the Green Party and vote in a leadership election. I think it's almost in the same day or like within the week or something. I can't remember what it is for the Green Party, but that's not the way it is for other parties. You've got to be a member for like 3 months, 6 months, something like that. So it is a little tougher, but I don't know. Actually, I don't remember what it is for the US. I haven't lived in the US for a very long time.
Okay, Dajjal is next.
Yes. The Palestinian, the idea of a two-state solution of Palestine, it's not going to happen. It's a pipe dream. It's a waste of time, and it's fucking suicide.
So did you focus on this? Focus on this topic. We're talking about the United States and the.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. The. Okay, remind me again. I'm sorry, I was dealing with.
All right, let's go to Jeffrey, and then if you want to come back to this because we're focusing.
Sure,
on yeah, no worries, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I mean, Soviet active measures disproportionately, as pursuant to Marxist military doctrine that disproportionately concentrated on subversion and then disproportionately focused on universities, because the ideology of the classroom of one generation inevitably becomes the ideology of Washington and DC and corporate boardrooms and institutions and subsequent ones. I mean, that's true. That's the whole point of the Long March through the institutions. It was coined by a pro-Soviet hard leftist in Germany, like in the 70s. The co-radical response is coming. And we're just going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens. And that's just where it is. You know, I mean, I don't like it. I think a lot of those skittle hairs are going to find out that the bill is going to be higher than they thought. I tell you, our adversaries actively amplify it. Yeah, I mean, I've been saying that shit forever. I went to ground in academia because of that shit. Yeah, that's where we're at. Just don't be surprised when the response comes.
Guys, I genuinely think that we this is going to be war, and we need to move heavily in pro-capitalism advertising on a very basic and understandable level, and make this digestible for a young audience. That's what I want to invest in going forward. I think the whole world. I think if United States moves into this direction, the whole world will be suffering because of it, not just Americans, the whole world. And I think is when it comes to political activism, so defending in the same way that we defend United States, we defend Israel, we defend Ukraine, we defend the Iranian people. I think part of our activism needs to be defending capitalism and making people understand why everyone's lives are better because of it. I think that's a important thing that we need to do in a way that it's not because when you talk about the economy, people get bored and they're not interested. You know, we need to find a way to make it, exciting and get cheerleaders for capitalism trending somehow. We need to figure that out. I think many people who are advocates for capitalism, they are not doing it in a way that it doesn't sound like an econ class. And I don't know if there's a way, but we need to figure it out. Because communists have figured out how to make their shit ideas look appealing by just talking about, like, instead of explaining basic economic principles, they have turned the conversation into, I don't know, capital bad, investment bad, rich people bad, eat the rich, fuck capitalists. And that is digestible. It's retarded, but it's digestible. People want to stand against power, stand against people who they're jealous of, because people who are weaker, people who have achieved less, it's really easy to sell the idea to them that people who have succeeded, they're bad and you're good. That's an easy sell. We need to figure out how to make capitalism an easy sell. Like, we need to find the right narratives that makes that an easy sell. Anyways, who's next?
Monkey is next.
Monkey.
Yes, I think that you can expel someone from your party. Like, you can, okay, I'm kicking you out of the Democrats, I'm kicking you out of the Republicans, and then you have to run as an independent and you don't have access to those funds. I think that's something that can work at a party level, but once they're elected, right? You can't just kick them out. I think there's some processes and some people that have been kicked out of the party, like from the Democratic National Association or whatever this, and I'm not 100% of this. I'm just going off my gut because I haven't gotten deep into the structure of how the parties align. They sometimes change how they do things. It sometimes varies per state. Even the way they hold election varies per state. So what makes you qualify in one state might not work in another. So there's some nuance to this. But what I wanted to touch on was Neil Bunny was saying about the funding. I'm going to talk about lobbies. This is just lobbies, right? AIPAC is spending 0.7 on FARA lobbying, 0.7 million. AIPAC 95 million, so 95.7 million. Look how much UAE is spending just in the FARA lobbying. People like to talk about lobby. UAE is spending 242 million in FARA lobbying. Saudi Arabia is spending 310 million in FARA lobbying. Qatar is spending 256 million in FARA lobbying. They don't talk about that lobbying, right? But Israel is being cheap. They're not even spending $1 million here. China, 457 million. Now let's talk about NGOs and Confucius Institutes and all these universities. China spending $7 billion on Confucius Institute, universities, and NGO, that Code Pink stuff. Qatar is spending $6 billion in universities, think tanks, NGO. Saudi Arabia, $4 billion on universities, NGOs, and PR. UAE, $2 billion in universities. So when people talk about APEC, that's absolute bullshit. What's going on here is that there is a takeover of the academia, and it's being done through money. This money has to be studied. I bet this money is also funding a lot of Antifa terrorism and acts that are probably very illegal.
All right, thank you, Sketch. We're running out of time, so let's please go 1 minute per person. Dajjal is first.
I agree, Armin. Capitalism has to be defended. You have to make positive, an actual positive defense of it, and not just bash communism, although that's important as well. You have to make, arguments for, say a freer market in healthcare, for example. That's an area where Republicans have really fucking sucked when it comes to policy. They just tell people, well, we can't do this, we can't do that because it's, that's socialism. That doesn't work. You have to give actual fucking solutions to the problem. And there are solutions, and we've talked about this, and you've talked about this, your ideas on things like healthcare. You have to actually put up policies that, as alternatives, that actually make sense to people. And if you don't, you're going to lose.
Yeah,
basically.
I think what we need to do is we need to tie capitalism to liberty and freedom, because that's what it is. It's about freedom. It's about people being able to do what they want with what they earned. And I think that's the goal that we need to go with. Yeah. All right. Who's next?
Adam Smith.
Yeah.
Okay. Arhalda is next.
Hi, all. I just wanted to let you know that we already have a group that's working on this. This exact idea. We started it, probably about a week ago, and we've been fine-tuning it. Anyone's welcome to join if they want, but the goal is, obviously to help Iranians and to free Iran, but focusing on what America really is, capitalism, taking back our country. So if anybody is interested, they could message me or something, and I could share the link to that group if you'd like.
All right, thank you. Who's next?
And last on the list is Jeffrey.
Jeffrey.
Look, I'm not saying that like having discussions isn't a good idea. Dude, the other side isn't buying. I tried that for 30 years, bro. 30 years. I'm the voice of reason on the co-radicalized right. I don't care. I don't care about police or FBI. I don't care. Neither do they. In fact, most of them are us. Now where do you go? What's happened in 10 years, bro? They've killed our speakers. They've attempted numerous assassination attempts on the president. They've firebombed police departments. They've killed law enforcement. They're actively undermining ICE. They actively are tied with our adversaries. We're done. Let one more act happen. See what happens. You're going to find out. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy who said don't do. I mean, I just don't know what else to do. I mean, you're not wrong. I very much wish you were right. I really do. I guess my question would be this. Okay. If how do you pursue conflict resolution in a manner that realizes the goal within the increasingly shrinking temporal constraint and time compression caused by the fact that we're heading towards the more high intensity kinetic part of a high intensity world war? How do you do that? I mean, there's a reason Yuri Bezmenov said it takes 25 years to reverse Soviet active measures once you start at a national level. We don't have 25 years. I mean, that's the whole point of Soldier to Statesman, was to create kind of like the tactical, political, and public policy version of Special Forces hatchet teams and do a soft power counter coup. Right? Got undermined, got taken down every other way. No, I get that, Dajjal. I totally get that. And those lines of effort should definitely be pursued. I'm just saying, like, I don't see that happening. I don't see that actually having, like, not swing voters. I'm just saying, like, you're never, like, having debates with radical leftists, dude, they don't give a shit. I promise you, including the ones that are in here. They don't give a fuck. Not one. They'll tell you. They don't change. Promise you. Go look at my other channels, see how they act. I extend nothing but love. They're not interested, dude. They don't care if you try to make like this econometric argument. Here's like I carried the two, and this is how we maximize marginal personal benefit. They don't give a shit about anything. You know why? Because they've been conditioned to believe if they subscribe to this crazy ass radical left-wing ideology, that they are morally superior to other people when they're not. It's manufactured narcissism. You're asking for people who have been conditioned to be narcissists to reflect on their personal character flaws to not be narcissists. I don't know how else to do that. I mean, I don't know how to exactly do that, particularly in the time critical and decisive manner that operates within the fact we are very quickly heading towards a high intensity world war, especially considering our adversaries are actively amplifying that. That's real talk.
All right.
I mean, I'm not trying to be shitty. I hope you get I'm not trying to be shitty.
Yeah, Jeffrey, I need to go soon, but I just want to say, like, I think you're very wrong about this because you don't know how to change their mind. Well, you don't, but I do, and I have. I have many people who have been hardcore communists, and now they're hardcore capitalists, and they're my friends, and they go around convincing people that capitalism works. So I know this works. You could say like it's hard to scale that. I agree that would be hard to scale. That is that's fair, but I have done this. And so I do, like, saying it never works. Maybe you could say like, okay, Armin, maybe you have some anecdotal evidence that works, but it's not going to work on a large number scale. Maybe that criticism is fair, but I wouldn't say.
How do you know?
I wouldn't. Yeah, but it has to be tried because I think psychological and information warfare should never be abandoned. Even I completely agree that military is where it's at, but I think it would be to our detriment for us to not also invest a lot in psychological and information warfare. That is really important. And yeah, I think that information warfare involves promoting capitalism. And also I've managed to convince people, adults, to change their mind on this topic, and they have now been consistently pro-capitalism because of the work I've done on them for a very long time. Like they continue. They're now capitalist advocates. They went from being communist advocates to being capitalist advocates. Also, I know this works because we, on a mass scale at least, have seen it work in Iran. Communism is in Iran has all but died, right? Like if you go, the hatred for communism in Iran is unbelievably high, and this used to not be the case. Like Iran used to be in a situation where they loved, like a huge percentage of the population loved communism. And now Iran has become one of the most anti-communist countries in the world, aggressively anti-communist. Especially many people who used to be communists themselves are now aggressively anti-communist. So saying the left never changed its mind, I've seen a huge percentage of the population of my country who used to be leftist to be now extremely pro-capitalism. So people do change their mind. So you're saying flawed comparison. You literally said leftists don't change their mind. I know they do because I've seen it, and I've seen it a lot. So don't give up on people just because they annoy you and just because they're currently retarded. You can't fix stupid. There is fixing stupid. Also, I'm just talking about adults that I've seen people change their mind. One thing you could do is target the young. The young who has like, oh, you can't change their people's minds. We could reach people that haven't made up their mind yet. And And that works a lot. So we have to reach people who haven't yet made up their mind. So again, you keep making excuses. You just came up with a general term. The left doesn't change their mind. Now you're saying the U.S. is not the Iran. You made a general term about the word leftist. Also, I've convinced American leftists to be capitalists as well. So I don't know what you're talking about. Also, one more thing I wanted to mention is that, yeah, information warfare is important. Psychological war is important. I know we might be biased because you focus on military and you have a military solution to everything, and I focus on the narrative battles of narratives, and that's why I'm thinking like maybe the narrative.
That was my point.
But yeah, but just because you haven't been successful, it doesn't mean that there is no solution. There are. I think we should focus on. I think we should do both, and I think that we need to reach out. I think we're going to regret not trying to change people's opinions. I know some of these people are so retarded that you want to give up on them and not change their minds. But for every, even if you could do 10%, even if you could reach 10% of them and change their mind, that's significant. That is significant, and it's worth a try. Saying Iran is different from the United States. Yeah, Iran is different from the United States, but people are people. Iranian people have half of the Iranian people have left religion as a whole. And this what used to be a very religious population that really believe in Islam, and half of them are now left Islam. Iran had a huge percentage of Iranians were believed in leftist and communist ideas, and now it's one of the most anti-communist countries on the planet. So it is possible. Maybe it won't work, but it's worth a fucking try. I don't think we should give up on that. Just because it didn't work on some people, I don't think we should give up on that. Anyways, I'm already 8 minutes past time, and I'm not going to be able to eat at all now. Sorry. Yeah. By the way, Jeffrey, I love you. So hopefully you didn't. Yeah. Sorry.
That's true, and don't misrepresent who I am.
Yeah. I didn't. I didn't talk about. I was just telling you my experience. Yeah. And what I've seen works. That's all. Anyways, guys. I'm gonna go. Sorry that I can't. I wish I could stay here and continue this conversation because I think it's fascinating. And Jeffrey, I hope you know that every time I disagree with you, and I still love you and I appreciate you. I just hope you know that, okay? Even if I disagree with you, okay? Sometimes I disagree.
I love you too. I want you to be.
Okay. All right.
Believe me.
Okay, fantastic. Good. All right, guys, I need to go. I'm seriously behind. Yes. And same guys, in 20 minutes, I'm going to go live on Liberty Politics with Ali. So see you guys over there. People in the group call, I'll see you guys same time tomorrow. And until then, by the way, Neil Bunny, I know one day we'll add Taiwan to this list, but right now it's difficult for me to add Taiwan to this list, but I promise one day we will add Taiwan to this list, but that will happen later. But until then, Am Israel Chai, Slava Ukraine, Cuba Libre, Long Live America, Javid Shah, Payande Iran. Mwah. Love you guys.